Clemson did have a player leave the team, if you want to call it that, this past week, and he's a player that we kind of talked about over the spring, that was kind of questioning kind of what his status would be going forward, and that's none other than running back / athlete / wide receiver, whatever you want to call him, Marquise Henderson. He's officially been dismissed from the team. He actually announced his destination in the transfer portal today to Liberty. For a lot of reasons, this was something that didn't come as a shock. If you've kept an ear to the ground, that this has been something that was kind of brewing up, and there were rumors that this would potentially happen over the last few months, and it was made official this past week. I hate it for Marquez, first and foremost, because I do think that there are some things that, yes, he needs to take responsibility for, off the field. But I think some of it is just kind of what has been enabled, prior to him being in college, and what things were and were not addressed with him. So I hate it for him, because I'm generally a person that wants to believe that people can be better. And I think the coaching staff had an idea of what they were signing up for when they signed him. But it comes to a certain point where enough is enough. Like, there's only so much you can take, only so much that you can tolerate. There's only so many opportunities and chances a player can get, and he expended all of them. And I think that's something that Dabo and Clemson over the years have they've done a good job at identifying good culture fits. But they've certainly taken their fair share of kids that needed some maturing when they got to campus. But Dabo's of the belief, especially kids that come from the state, he's going to take more chances on those kids anyway. And it just, too much happened over the course of the spring, and obviously he struggled even on the field, with injuries and the like. So it sucks, because he's a really talented football player, extremely talented football player. I thought, for my money, he was the best player in the state of South Carolina, his last year, like, just insane numbers when he was at Belton Honia Path. So I hate it for him. And I'm hoping that he, kind of gets his life together off the field, and, and maybe a change of scenery at Liberty might do it. I don't know. Liberty, if he didn't like the rules here, imagine what it's going to be like at Liberty University. But, it is what it is. And I do think this sucks for Clemson in the long term, in terms of what his potential could have been. Obviously, I don't think he would have been able to help Clemson a ton this year, maybe potentially on special teams. But it does change kind of the outlook of your running back room. Potentially, I thought he could have played receiver. I thought he could have done a lot of things for this offense down the line. But you're not going to have a player of his talents now. And I think that's disappointing, because, I think Clemson absolutely made the right decision. But, you never want to see a player of that caliber, that caliber of talent, exit your program if you can help it. But like I said, it had to happen. But TBC, what did you think about this? It's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, I think you hit on all the good points and all the important points there, Jordan. And this is really something that us as college football fans, us as fans of various teams, when your team's involved in something like this, it's never a good thing, right? There's always that group of fan out there that as soon as somebody doesn't don your jersey, suddenly they're not a good football player, and you don't need them, and blah 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 blah, right? We recruited Marquez for a reason. He's a very talented athlete, and I think he could have helped Clemson, not this year, but in the future. I think he was 1,000% heading for a redshirt season this year. But I think in the future, Marquez could have contributed in a big way on this Clemson football team. Like you said, they recruited him for a reason. He was probably the best football player coming out of South Carolina. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out for both parties, right? And we can both be disappointed in Marquez's actions and his inability to kind of right some of the wrongs that he was doing in order to stay in the good graces of the coaches and on the football team, and also wish him well at the same time, right? Understand that these are young people, right? First time away from home, people make mistakes, and it's unfortunate, right? Without getting into any of the details of what Marquez did or did not do, or allegedly did or did not do, I don't think that's really important. What I think is important is that you wish this guy the best. Obviously he's announced his transfer to Liberty. I hope he has a great career at Liberty. I hope that he can get his college football career started in a better way than he did at Clemson. I truly do hope that. It's unfortunate that the Clemson coaching staff had to make this decision, but make no mistake about it, they don't enter this lightly. Dabo Swinney doesn't make a habit of kicking guys off the team because they make one or two mistakes, right? If he's kicking a guy off the team, there was a habitual pattern of misconduct, and he determined that enough was enough. Now, what you hope comes out of that is that Marquez, as a young man, kind of first time out on his own, that this is a wake-up call, a learning experience for him, and that he can right the wrongs that he did, and we can root for him from afar, and hope that he gets his college football career off to a much better start at Liberty. So wish him the best. It's unfortunate for Clemson. It's not going to affect the roster at all this season. They'll fill that roster spot with somebody down the road. So as far as this season's team and the 2025 version of the Clemson Tigers goes, this means nothing as far as the roster goes. But it's always unfortunate when one of your recruits, especially an in-state guy, gets dismissed from the team. It's never a good thing. But at the end of the day, our Tigers are going to be fine. I think Marquez is going to be fine, and hopefully he had a valuable learning experience from the situations that happen at Clemson.
And again, I think it definitely is. It's unfortunate, but it's something that from time to time happens, and enough is enough. At a certain point, you give a kid enough chances, because you allow too much to slide. That affects the program you're trying to run. And Dabo he's certainly drawn a fine line over the years. There, like I said, there have been kids that came in that had to mature faster than others, or mature more than others. When they came in. And a lot of them ended up being really good football players. I mean, shoot, Nate Wiggins, Andrew Booth.
Yep.
It's not Martavis Bryant. Like, it's not always it's not always a smooth sailing. Not all the kids that come into Clemson are just ready-made adults. Like, these are kids. Like, these are 17, 18-year-olds and not all that of varying levels of maturity. So, I definitely don't want, Marquez to suffer, the long-term consequences for the things that went on. And I just want him to be able to get an opportunity to really, get his career off on the right track, because he is a phenomenal football player. And you always got a soft spot for the in-state kids too. So that's another thing.
Yep. So wish him the best. I think I would think that he learned something, at least something, from this process that he went through at Clemson. So off to Liberty he goes, and we'll watch him from afar and wish him the best as a South Carolina